Hey guys, it's Aisha and welcome back to my channel. We already know that big events in cities bring in a serious influx of money, not only for the tourism business, but all those local businesses in the area as well. More and more small business owners are able to cash in on this with the explosion of those peer-to-peer platforms, including Uber and Airbnb. So for example, you are a short-term rental owner and the Super Bowl comes to your city. Well, how much money will you actually make from an event like that? In this video, we'll talk about exactly how much the hosting site Airbnb and its platform users made from Super Bowl weekend. So the Sun Sentinel reported out that last year, Airbnb and its Georgia host made an additional $3.5 million just from Super Bowl weekend. Again, this is supplemental income, so this is on top of what they would have made on average already. This comes out to an extra $700 per host, again, just from one weekend. Again, this is supplemental income, so this is on top of what they usually would have made in a month like that. For consistent hosts, this amount of money can make a world of difference, and that's why events like the Super Bowl and other big events are so coveted in certain cities. While I couldn't find exact comparisons, the Miami Herald said that this year, Airbnb and its hosts down in Miami and surrounding areas are projected to bring in over $26 million. So while this isn't a direct comparison because it isn't supplemental income, $26 million for one weekend just in hosting and that additional money that it means for those hosts is such a big deal. Before peer-to-peer platforms, people had to rely on places like hotels, and once a hotel was sold out, there was no making room for more. Airbnb has opened the option of so many different types of residences being able to be booked for you to have a place to stay when you visit somewhere new. This year, rooms went for an average of $180 per night, and that's in the Miami area, and then about $127 per night in the Broward County area. So here's an example of how hosts in Miami were able to command the price based on the influx of demand. So for this man in his 3-bedroom villa on Brickell, during Miami's high winter season, he usually lists the villa at about $308 per night. But for Super Bowl weekend, he was able to list and book for about $1,600 per night. That's like 5 times the amount that he's usually able to get. However, we have to remember that is just one example, and not everyone saw, being able to list for about 5 times the rate. When I was doing research, it looked like people were able to raise the rate anywhere from 2 to 5 times the amount that they were normally able to. For this example, he definitely had location as an advantage on his side, given how close he was to where the stadium was. But not everyone has that exact advantage, and so a lot of times, if you list too high, you will miss out on opportunities because people just won't pay those rates. However, there is an elite group of people who, come to Miami and don't have to exactly worry about money. And those are the ones booking the villas that were, $40,000 a night, which I don't even want to get into because it makes me so sad. So it was reported for this year and last year on average that 1 in 4 of the hosts that listed during Super Bowl weekend were first-time hosts. These are people who are trying to capitalize on the weekend and make a quick buck. However, you don't really get, all the advantages, and there actually are a lot of downsides if this is your first time hosting. Now that hosting sites like Airbnb are such big establishments, there are a lot of rules and regulations that go around them. So, hosting just for one time and one time only actually has a lot of disadvantages. It may not be worth it in the end. For example, a lot of cities require you to register your place that you are going to rent out. A lot of times, these registration fees can be up to $350. So if you're looking to make a few $100s profit on one weekend, and then shut it back down and not use Airbnb consistently, it might not be worth it since that's such a big chunk of your profit. You also want to be cautious about safety. When big events like this come to a city, there is a lot of partying, there is a lot of recklessness, and you do have to take that into account that there may be damages once the people leave your place. Another thing to think about if you are a first-time host and you are trying to take advantage of making a few dollars is that if you're renting an apartment, a lot of times having people in your place is considered subletting, even if it's only for a few days. And if your apartment complex finds out, this could be in direct violation of your lease. And these type of violations of subletting without permission can a lot of times be grounds for eviction. So it's definitely not worth it if you're trying to be sneaking under the radar. Sometimes you can get away with it, but a lot of times, especially on weekends like this, apartments are checking and making sure that no one is trying to take advantage. Which I agree really sucks, but it is what it is sometimes, and it's just not something you may want to take the risk on. Okay, with that $26 million, that is taken into the full amount that Airbnb and guests made as a whole. But exactly how much did Airbnb make out of that $26 million? So it is a little tricky, it's hard to know because there are different types of fee systems that Airbnb implements. Depending on the host, it's up to them to pick, which fee structure works best for you. So there's like a shared fee system, which is where you take on a 3% hosting fee, and then a lot of the other service fees are passed along to the guests. It's when they book, they have to pay those up front. And then there's another option that gives hosts a little bit more flexibility in how much they charge the guests. And so that's called a host only fee, and that can be anywhere from 14% to 20%. So the host only fee is something that kind of defaults to when you are a first time user of Airbnb, and you are able to change it. But let's say that you stick with the host only fee, and let's say again it's only the 14%. So Airbnb would make $3.6 million out of that $26 million made from all hosts across the board if they were to use that host only fee system, which I know we're so used to seeing millions of dollars flashed here and there. But if you think about $3.6 million in only hosting fees on a platform that is, not even 2 decades old, and they made that in 1 weekend, it's just like astonishing to me. Again, the Super Bowl is just one example of a big event and the amount of money it can bring in just for one platform, and those local business owners that are able to capitalize on those platforms. Airbnb is also still growing, so it'll be super interesting to see what they make out next year at the Super Bowl in 2021. If you found this information helpful or entertaining, please like the video. And if you have any questions about anything that I talked about, please leave a comment below. If you like watching videos like this, I do put out information weekly, so be sure to subscribe to my channel as well. And I think that's all I have for you guys today. So if you watched this video this far, I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys, and I hope you enjoyed your weekend.